Welcome to Sports House Podcast. I'm Chase House. The NBA Finals Game 2 is tonight. Game 1 went to the Phoenix Suns 118 to 105. Giannis went from doubtful to questionable to playing in the game after a hyperextended knee injury. And his injury, it looked really serious right as it happened, but watching the replay, luckily it just bent straight backwards, and I know how that feels. I've done it. I've had a hyperextended knee, and they're painful. For him to be back out there 2 games later is amazing, and I did not expect him to perform as well as he did by any means. I expected him to get less than 20 points in his return and not really have that big of an impact. He scored 20 points, but also had 17 rebounds and shot 6 for 11 from the field. And had an epic chase down block off of the backboard, reminiscent of LeBron James blocking Andre Iguodala in the NBA Finals. That play was special on its own, but the fact that he also was playing with coming off that knee injury made it all the more impressive. However, the story was Chris Paul getting anything and everything that he wanted all night, and the Phoenix Suns were able to pull away in the third quarter and never looked back. Chris Paul and Devin Booker basically picked who they wanted to go one-on-one against and then destroyed them all night. Chris Paul was 12 for 19, 4 of 7 from three-point land, had 32 points, 9 assists, and 4 rebounds. DeAndre Ayton was the first player since Tim Duncan in 1999 to record 15 points and 15 rebounds in their finals debut. And later in the same game, Giannis did the exact same thing. DeAndre Ayton was actually 1 rebound away from a 20-point, 20-rebound game, and it came with seconds to go. And if you look it up, you'll find it. Chris Paul steals the rebound from DeAndre Ayton with literally seconds to go in the game. And Devin Booker, you can tell, was aware of the fact that Ayton was this close to a 20-point, 20-rebound night that Chris Paul just stole away from him. But an amazing game by DeAndre Ayton and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and yet somehow Chris Paul was the best player of the night. Honestly, I figured that the NBA Finals would go to the Phoenix Suns. Chris Paul would cap off this year by getting a NBA Finals championship and a Finals MVP, and should have been in the consideration for the MVP of the season because he has meant that much to this team. The Phoenix Suns, who haven't made the playoffs the last 10 years, now have a 1-0 lead in the NBA Finals. And what makes that even more impressive is that this is Devin Booker's first playoff appearance in his career. He's yet to lose in the playoff series. Yep, I'm knocking on wood to not jinx that. We have 2 teams in the Bucks and the Suns that the Bucks haven't won since the 70s. Phoenix Suns haven't won ever. The last time they were in the finals was in 93 when they lost to Michael Jordan with MVP Charles Barkley on their team. It's been a long time. These are 2 teams that have not necessarily been the greatest for a long time. And both of them are super hungry, and there's only one player on both of these teams that has been in the NBA Finals. And it's Jay Crowder when he was in the finals last year with the Miami Heat. He's the only player. And that didn't matter because he only scored 1 point. But nonetheless, the fact that no player on either of these teams besides Jay Crowder has been in the NBA Finals is super exciting, considering basically in the NBA now it's just powerhouse after powerhouse. And take example, the Golden State Warriors and Cleveland Cavaliers when they faced off for like 5 straight NBA Finals. Now we get something fresh. We get something new. None of the super teams made it. Just two teams and franchises that haven't had success for a really, really long time, battling it out in the NBA Finals. This has been my favorite finals since the Boston Celtics were in the finals, and because I'm extremely biased about that.
Is your child showing any of these symptoms? Laughing, sleeping, uncontrollable eating, slurring words, inability to complete full sentences, loss of memory, philosophical thinking?
Your baby may be abusing marijuana.
Some long-term effects may include total loss of brain function, complete paralyzation, total organ failure, increased risk of racism, sudden death. Always remember, a stoned child is no longer your child. For your own safety, please contact the local police department.
Man, I really don't want to do this homework.
You don't have to.
With Sports House Podcast, just pretend all your problems magically disappear. Sit back, procrastinate, and just enjoy. Now, back to the podcast. And remember, kids, that homework bullshit.
My predictions for Game 2 tonight. I think the Phoenix Suns are going to win. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be really close. But I think at home, they'll get the win. I feel like they'll probably win by maybe 2 or 3 points in a super close game. But I think they'll take a 2-0 series lead, and Chris Paul being the main factor. DeAndre Ayton, too. He is the most underrated big man in the league, and he is going to get paid heftily at the end of this season. But I feel like the Phoenix Suns will win tonight in a close game. Giannis, coming off of his injury, I did not expect him to play as good as he did, so he'll probably have a big game tonight. I just still think, being in Phoenix, that the Suns will figure out how to win this game and go up 2-0. And I don't think that means the series is over by any means, because I feel like after Game 4, the series will be tied at 2. I think Phoenix will win both games at home, and then Milwaukee will rebound by doing the exact same thing in Milwaukee and tying the series up. Ultimately, my prediction is that the Suns will win this series in 6 games, with Chris Paul getting the Finals MVP. But for tonight, Game 2, I think it'll be a relatively high-scoring game, maybe 112-110 Phoenix. Drew Holiday for the Milwaukee Bucks, if they are going to have any chance of winning, he needs to do a lot better job defending Chris Paul. Chris Paul got everything he wanted, and the Milwaukee Bucks, they went out and got Drew Holiday to be that third guy that puts him over the top. And in Game 1, he had 10 points, shot 4 of 14, 0 for 4 from the three-point line, and had a minus 16, which was the second worst on the team. Free throws were also a huge reason why the Bucks lost in Game 1. They shot 56% from the free throw line. Meanwhile, the Phoenix Suns missed 1 free throw the entire game. They went 25 of 26, shooting 96%. And the Milwaukee Bucks just 9 of 16, shooting 56%. And a lot of those were Giannis. Giannis missed 5 free throws himself. He shot his free throws a lot better, though. He went 7 of 12 altogether, which, if I'm the Bucks, I'm taking that all day. If he's shooting over 50%, I'm taking it. But the key factor is going to be if Drew Holiday does a lot better job defending Chris Paul tonight, and also Brook Lopez, if he remembers that he's 7 feet tall, like he did in the Hawks series when Giannis went out, and stays in the paint, rather than shooting 3 balls the entire game. Brook Lopez, when he wants to be, he could be a dominant big. But then he forgets who the hell he is, and he's out there playing point guard, spotting up at the three-point line the entire game. And if you're any opposing team, you'll take that. You'd take a 7-foot Primantis sitting out there on the three-point line camping, waiting for the ball, rather than in the paint where he could just drop the ball directly down and into the hoop because he's like 90 feet tall. If Brook Lopez shoots less than 3 3-pointers and Drew Holiday steps up, Giannis has a good game, and Middleton has a good game, that's how the Bucks will win Game 2. And as for Phoenix, it's about that big 3. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. And I don't think they could be stopped. This is why I picked them to win this series. These three guys, I think, are a very underrated big three. Devin Booker, who can get a bucket at any time from anywhere on the court. Chris Paul, who is the greatest point guard in the league right now. And DeAndre Ayton, who is the most underrated big man and has such a soft touch of the basketball for being as huge as he is. Last game, he shot 80%, 8 for 10, had 19 rebounds, 22 points. That is efficiency. Dario Saric on the Phoenix Suns, he is now out for the season with a torn ACL, and the funny thing is, his knee injury did not look too bad, but I knew just by the way that his knee went a little bit sideways that it was probably a lot worse than Giannis's injury, which his knee bent really far, but backwards, hyperextending it. He ends up being fine, and it's Saric who looks like nothing really happens to him, and he has a torn ACL. Those are the thing with knee injuries. Like, if you go back and watch both of those, it's crazy that Saric's, it looks like his knee barely moves, just looks like it buckles a teeny bit. And then you have Giannis's knee going, like, straight backwards, really far, and yet it's Saric who has the worst of the injuries. It sucks for him to be injured in the NBA Finals. Fortunately for the Suns, he's not that big of a factor for them. So it's not like he's going to kill them. But he did get hurt after only playing 2 minutes in the NBA Finals. Fortunately, I think he'll still get a ring. I think the Suns will end up winning the series and getting him a ring for him playing 2 minutes in the series altogether. The key numbers in this game, I would go ahead and say, is Jay Crowder knocking down at least 2 3-pointers. He went 0 of 8 shooting in game 1, 0 for 5 from 3, just scoring 1 point. And he was the only guy with NBA Finals experience. Clearly it didn't matter. But if he can knock down 2 threes, I think that's a big plus for the Phoenix Suns. And DeAndre Ayton, once again, I think it's having 15 or 15 or 20 and 10. Devin Booker, I think his number that he should be targeting is around 23 points. If he can get at least 23, and Chris Paul getting 20 himself, or if he has less than 20, he's got to have double-digit assists. Those are the key numbers for the Phoenix Suns, I believe. For the Bucks, Giannis is going to have to score at least 25 if the Bucks are going to win. And I didn't think he'd score 20 in game 1 with his knee injury, and he got 20 on the dot. But Giannis is going to have to get at least 25, and same with Chris Middleton. I feel like their numbers are the same. Each of them has got to get at least 25. And if Brook Lopez just attempts less than 4 or 3 3-pointers, that's a good mark for him. But the biggest X factor is Drew Holiday, and not necessarily on the offensive side. You know, he didn't play well offensively, like I mentioned, in game 1. But the biggest factor is going to be slowing down Chris Paul on the defensive side, excuse me. Because Chris Paul got everything that he wanted the entire game in game 1. They just ran that pick and roll to death, and the thing is, Chris Paul, he goes at his own speed the entire game. He just sets up the plays perfectly, gets right where he wants when he wants to shoot it, and knows exactly how to get DeAndre Ayton open and get him good looks. And same with Devin Booker. He knows when to just give him the ball and get out of the way. But if you just watch and you pay attention to Chris Paul, he is such an amazing facilitator where he just puts his team in the right position to make the best basketball play. He'll get in a high pick and roll. They'll switch on DeAndre Ayton, and he'll just lob it right over the top time and time again. getting DeAndre Ayton good, solid looks. Or he'll get the switch on him, get Brook Lopez on him, on Chris Paul, and he'll get right to his sweet spot, and it's over. He'll knock it down every time. Chris Paul is playing the best basketball he's ever played. And he's surrounded with pieces that expose that. I wouldn't necessarily call this a must-win for the Milwaukee Bucks. But if they're ultimately going to win this series, this is a massive game 2. If they could steal one on the road in Phoenix, Phoenix is a team you don't want to be down 0-2 against. Even with Giannis, a 2-time MVP on your team, this game might determine who wins the championship. Because, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible for Milwaukee to come back from 0-2, but I do think that that's the way the series will go, is the Phoenix Suns will go up 2-0, and even though I think the Bucks will tie the series at 2-2, I don't think that they'll win the series. So in my mind, the Bucks give themselves the best chance to win the NBA Finals if they split right now. That's the only way I think they'll lead in this series, is if they win Game 2. Because if they don't win Game 2, they're going down 2-0, and after 4 games, best case scenario, they'll be tied at 2. Worst case scenario, you're swept. I don't think that'll happen, but I think there's a pretty high chance of the Bucks being down 3-1 if they don't win tonight.
Sports House Podcast.